Salamat po.
Salamat din po.
Saturday morning. Allow me to open Your Eminence with the first question. It was 20 years ago, Your Eminence, that we had an opportunity to host a Pope here in the Philippines. And we were wondering how about that Pope Francis has decided to visit our country. We noticed that 20 years ago it was likewise exactly at this time in January when the Pope visited.
Thank you, Lee. There were, in fact, some people who were wondering whether the choice of the date for the visit of Pope Francis was deliberately chosen or singled out to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the visit of Pope John Paul II. But I tell you, it did not happen that way. In fact, when we realized that the visit this year would mark the 20th anniversary, we were pleasantly surprised. There was another hand that made it possible. But from my personal experience, so I participated in the conclave that elected Pope Francis. Are you happy with our choice?
If I can ask you, did you vote for him?
We cannot reveal. So before he appeared to the community on the balcony, the cardinals now approached the then Cardinal Bergoglio, who is now Pope Francis. So to greet him, that's part of the ritual. In the past, they called it paying homage to the new Pope. So it was my turn. I first brought to him the love and the fidelity of the Filipino people. And I said, you might want to visit the Philippines. Come and visit Asia. Pope Benedict, because of his age, was not able to come to Asia in the 8 years that he was the Pope. And he said, yes, I would love to go to Asia, to go to the Philippines. Ako naman, in my mind, siguro all of us cardinals invited him, and he said yes to all of us. Because that isn't true. But then 2 months later, in the meeting in Rome that I attended, he was the one, the Pope was the one, who reminded me of that. He said, well, how about this possible visit to the Philippines? He said, maybe you can start thinking about that. And I said, oh, he's serious. So July of 2013, I asked, during the CBCP meeting, I asked the president of the CBCP at the time, Archbishop Alba, and the members of the Permanent Council, I asked them to go to one room for a closed-door meeting, and I told them, look, we are inviting the Pope to the Philippines for the Eucharistic Congress 2016. But the Pope told me, 2016, that's 3 years from now. I will be dead by that time. So don't forget, I'm an old man. He said, can I come earlier? So I asked the leadership of the CBCP, what do we do? Will we reject this offer of the Pope? And they said, no. So we have to formally invite him. Now, the original intention of the Pope was to come November 2014. So, dapat tapos na. But then, came the decision to call a synod of bishops on the family, October 2013. So we said, no, that's too close. Yeah, so, baka January. And there were 2 of us, the nuncio and myself. We were tasked to brainstorm for the Holy Father. Remember, that was the year of the laity, 2013. In 2014, the year of the laity. So our proposed program for the Pope's visit was really the lay people. and the mission of the lay people, how to bring the gospel to the temporal world, the world of politics, of finance, of the arts, of sciences, of social communication, in the areas of poverty, all of that. Then came Yolanda. And that brought a different configuration to the visit. So we had to shift from the year of the laity to this one of mercy and compassion. And have I revealed too much? It's important to know.
Your Eminence, does that mean that he's definitely not coming to Cebu for the International University Conference?
No. We're still hoping that he would come. Because I know there are other countries in Asia that have invited him. So who knows? In 2016, he might go to another country in Asia and then hopefully go to Cebu, like this trip, Sri Lanka and then the Philippines. Now, why January? It's because of Sri Lanka. I think without the Sri Lanka component, baka natuloy pa ng November. But, and so, in fact, this one I can tell you, kasi this is not sub-secreto. The Pope will even ask me, from Vietnam to Manila, how long is the trip? From Manila to Taiwan, how long is the trip? Hopping. And then, but then Sri Lanka, I think will celebrate some national anniversary this January. But then the president called for an early election, 2 years earlier, and he was defeated. So a new president will welcome the Pope. Now, our question is the new president sympathetic to, if I were him, I would take advantage of his the country's trust on the international stage.
Your Eminence, what significance should we attach to this visit to the Philippines?
You know, every papal visit is significant in a unique way, because every pope is a unique person, bearing his own personality, his own training, etc. And then the world changes, the church changes. So those things merge and converge to make every papal visit unique. But maybe the impact of this present visit was already articulated by Pope Francis. Last November, in a private meeting with him, before I left the room, he said, I know that the preparations are in full swing for my visit. I do not want to be the focus of the pastoral visit. Jesus should be the focus. So I think, and I tell you now, he said, I should not be the focus, because he said, I noticed that people are creating their own Pope Francis. He said, I hear reports about myself, and I do not recognize myself in how people are saying. He said, stories like, I leave the Vatican in the middle of the night to feed the hungry. He said, I have no time to leave the Vatican. He said, who creates those stories? Who creates those legends? He said, where is the real Francis? The real Francis is that I'm a regular human being. I'm a regular human being, but they're making me a celebrity, a star. That's not me. Don't focus on me. Focus on Jesus. And so, the expectation is, yes, the Pope will come. But will we listen? Will we listen to the message coming from the gospel that he will proclaim? If we don't listen, then nothing will change. something will change. People ask me, will there be a chance for us to come close to the Pope, to touch him, to have a selfie? So, will it make a difference? Will we become suddenly just, truthful, and loving just because we're a selfie with him? No! Pag napuluyan po, burakin mo rin naman yan. Diba? Parang ginawa souvenir. So, I think the Holy Father is quite clear. And I think also, because I have worked with him before he became Pope, I think he was also reminding himself, it's not just for us, but also for him. You know how easy it is to get trapped in the, even if the stories are not true, but if they sound good, sasabihin mo, okay na rin yan. Okay na rin, maganda yung sinilisan nila po sa atin. So, I think he's also reminding himself, remain grounded, you know who you are, live in the truth.
But Your Eminence, don't you think it is quite a challenge, especially with the Filipino religiosity?
Yes.
Just yesterday we had the Black Nazarene, and the driving here, even until this morning, there was traffic at Quiapo.
Yes.
And I think, what is the teaching of the Church on what I consider unique cultural forms of devotion by the Filipinos? And the tendency toward the selfie, the winding of handkerchiefs on statues.
The teaching of the Church, the most recent of the teachings of the Church regarding popular piety came from Pope Francis himself in his document, the Evangelii Gaudium, the joy of the gospel. Remember that he is the first Latin American Pope. And so just like us, the Latin American Church has incorporated a lot of popular piety and popular religiosity in its expression of faith. And in that document, he considers popular piety as one of the most effective bearers of the faith, where the Holy Spirit and the culture of the poor meet. In many ways, the popular religiosity is an act of liberation, in the sense that it comes from the cultural expressions of the simple, the poor, who may not be able to grasp totally the more notional, the more intellectual aspect of the faith. Now, it doesn't mean that popular religiosity is safe, totally safe from fanaticism or adoration. That's why it's always subject to purification, just like all the other expressions of the faith. But the Holy Father warns us not to disdain popular religiosity. For in countries where popular religiosity has disappeared, church life has also gone down. Because let's face it, for example, in the Philippines, 80% of young people go to public schools. Only 20% or less of our young people get regular religious instruction in schools. Where do the 80% get their religious instruction? Mainly from the homes, mainly from the statues. They see what their parents are doing. Cardinal Bergoglio, now Pope Francis, talks lovingly about his Grandma Rosa. Grandma Rosa, Lola Rosa, who taught him how to pray before the statue of Our Lady, how to pray the Rosary. Yeah. So there is an official worship, which remains the official, but there is also this expression of faith that comes from the culture of people, usually the simple and the poor.
Your Eminence, I think when he was the Cardinal Archbishop of Buenos Aires, he was the chief editor of the government, where he wrote on popular piety. This emphasis on popular piety, if I can ask you, is there pushback from the Curia, from the institutional church? Do they see this as being too populist, in a sense?
I think some people who have grown up in a more formal, a more, let's say, essentialist approach to the faith, like what is the essence? You know, they say, if the essence is Jesus, then we don't need that. We did not. And so you have some churches that have been too anesthetized, you know, and then no more symbols. But we realize, even in the Vatican, that as flesh and blood human beings, we need symbols. We need mediation. Now, how many of us can just reach the eternal without some mediation? Like even the sunrise can speak to us of, wow, the beauty of life. You look at a child, you look at Miss Prieto, and even without touching, some deeper meanings come to us. And this is one of the regrets of the European Church. After Vatican II and the rediscovery of the Word of God, which was very good, the tendency was to say, okay, let us focus on the study of the Word of God, and they minimize the role of the symbols, and which abounded in popular religiosity. And now they're beginning to see, yes, the faith has a popular dimension, which is not always within the purview, the scope or the reach of the official church. So, but again, the Vatican will always tell us, you have to be discerning, because some cultural elements enter which might not be helpful in fostering real spirituality. There's always a danger there.
Eminence, there is a rumor going around that the encyclical of the Pope on the environment is ready to be released without giving away anything. Is it possible that Tacloban would be a venue for the release of the encyclical?
I think I can share with you truthfully two things. First is, I think the project to have an encyclical of the Pope on the environment is true. Because I have heard him talking with some people in the Vatican who are helping him in the drafting of the document. When he was asked in one meeting regarding this, and there were some journalists present, he said that the document was not yet ready at the time because a lot of serious study is needed. He said, and I heard this, he said, I do not want a papal encyclical being accused of spreading false data or data that are not yet verified even by scientists. I'm sure you all know that as we talk about climate change, there is also a big group saying there is no climate change. And they are and that is present even among within the church. There are some church people who say no, there's no climate change. So the Holy Father is very cautious. He wants to put in data that can be accepted by all, verified by all. Now, the second thing that I can tell you truthfully is I do not know whether that document is already prepared, ready for promulgation. No. If it happens in Tacloban, wow, what because he even quoted in Evangelii Gaudium, he quoted the CBCP document on the environment. So it's and when he was elected Pope, some people found that as one of the lines, the choice of the name Francis, who is the patron saint of ecology. So they say he wants to pursue that.
Father, Your Eminence, in 2013, the CBCP commissioned a survey by the SWS and of the Filipino youth, and more than half said they disagree with the involvement of the Catholic hierarchy on political issues, and also half disagree with the Church's position in opposing the RH law. Is there any reaction on the part of the CBCP, which commissioned the SWS survey? Is there any change in that position in light of the teachings of Pope Francis, who has spoken about a church of the poor? Is there any impact of the new Pope upon the positions of the CBCP and its issues?
The survey that was conducted was really an important tool for the bishops, to see where our young people are, And in fact, we were still quite pleasantly surprised that around more than 70% of the young people surveyed claim that they are practicing Catholic, and by and large, they are able to declare that they are Christians. And I tell you, in some parts of the world, you won't get that high percentage among the young people. It was also quite, how do you call it, how do I say it? We were not surprised also that there would be some opposition to the teachings of the Church, regarding morality, things like those, because this is not the first time that young people and not so young people will find something that they disagree with, in the teachings of the Church. So that's something that we commonly accept. But it also is a challenge. The question that the bishops and the pastors ask ourselves is, are we communicating well? So it's not so much just to blame the youth. It's not that. The survey even brought us to ourselves. How is our type of communication? Are we reaching the youth? Or are the young people connecting with us? How accessible to the young people is our ecclesiastical language? In fact, in the Synod of Bishops on the Family last October, without mentioning the survey, that was one of the questions that I raised in the Synod. What is the language of the Church? Is our language too notional, too philosophical, too abstract? So I think the general sentiment of the bishops was not so much to blame the youth, but to allow the survey to lead us to some sort of self-examination. And here, I think Pope Francis is also showing the way. His language is very simple. In fact, when the first few weeks of being Pope, especially the European Church, they were shocked, scandalized that the Pope now is talking like an ordinary Irish priest. He doesn't sound like a Pope. And so I asked one of the journalists, but how should a Pope sound? I said, formal. So the less you understand the Pope, the more a Pope he is. So how come when you suddenly understand the Pope, you feel he's less than a Pope? But this is the Latin American character also. When you see this, he grabs the microphone and goes down, and So people say, oh, what a revolution. No, that's common in Latin America. Even here di ba, may mga pare, they go down, tumatakbo-takbo pa nga yung ibang pare habang may bumibili. So, hindi naman kayo sanay sa Europe. And this is the first time kasi na hindi European ang Pope. And so he praised his culture, nagugulat sila. But the survey is helping us a lot. And the style of Pope Francis, especially with the youth, is showing us a way, and it's helping us assess our pastoral approaches, especially in our Christian community.
We have a prayer wall on INQUIRER.net. There are over 500, probably 600 prayers already. Most of them have to do with prayers for the safety of the Pope. If I could just ask you, are you satisfied with the security arrangements? I mean, he's been stubborn about not using bulletproof glass, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think I can tell you that 2 days ago we had a meeting in Malacanang para an overview and final touches. And I heard from the presentation of the people in charge of security that one of the rules is if you are a person in charge of security, you must be a paranoid. You must be a paranoid, so that's the best way to prepare. And I saw how paranoid they are. So it's satisfying. The paranoid they see possible dangers here and there. But I also saw not only the concern, the hard work, but also the humility. I think part of their almost panic, spirit in approaching security was they know these are our capabilities. These are the equipments that we have. And so if something drastic happens, how could we respond adequately? So they wanted things to really work out well. But I had to respond to them, Archbishop saw. We also had, after appreciating their efforts, we also had to remind them that this is not just what we call this, the head of state that is coming. This is not just a celebrity figure. He is a pastor. And pastoral life is really about being connected, And he, as a Latin American, and we, as Asians, proximity, touch. You see what happens in the procession of the Nazareno, it's not enough to walk, you have to touch. And kung hindi man actual touching, you vicarious, you throw your handkerchief, it was touched on the statue, so now I feel, and nung midnight mass, Luneta, yung midnight of the 9th, so I went there. I was escorted by 2 police officers, but they took the wrong road. So instead of taking Calao, dito kami nakapasok sa Manila Hotel, Burgos. And pag diko niya, puno na ng tao. So they told me, "Naku, your evidence, you have to walk." So I said, "No problem." So lakad ako. And people said, "Ay, ang Cardinal! Takbuhan! Halip ng kaway!" So it took me around 30 minutes to reach the stage. Ganyan. Sabi nung isang guard, "Hindi pa yan papa, Cardinal." Sabi ko, ano sa papa? Kaya sabi ko nga, ayan, mga dry-run dito. How do you handle it? Make a mistake. Pag sinabing alaw. Happened in Brazil. Kamaliw, and then na-stop sila sa traffic, security nightmare. But this is it, yung touching, it's you touch heaven. Heaven is untouchable. But how do you approximate heaven? So you touch on it. So we had to explain it to them. And the Holy Father himself he started his papacy by saying, let the church be less self-referential. Go out. Go to people. Go to the peripheries. Go out. And he will be eating his own birds. And due to security, he will be prevented from going out. And then, so the security people in Malacanang, pati-ilim na lang. Don't worry, kasi so far, with these trips in the Holy Land, in sa Korea, sa Turkey, so far, hindi pa. So sabi nila, can we ask the help of the parishioners, the priests, the religious, para yung first line of defense or security. Sabi ko, yeah, marami na naman some parishioners of the parishes, where the Pope will pass, have already been mobilized. Sabi ko lang, pero akala nyo baka kung mga madre, mga pari nandun, sila yung first line. Pag dumaan ang Pope, makakakulang din na. Pilipino din na rin. Pilipino din. So that this delicate balance.
And just a quick follow-up. I noticed that the prayer at the end of each Mass that you've been saying for the success of the visit, that you added a few words. Where you just asked us to be a nation of holiness and heroism. Now we've added also a nation of order, discipline, and security. You are restoring the heavens for this?
That was suggested kasi not only for God to pour into our hearts a sense of order, but also by praying it over and over again, baka yung ating mind condition na we want to be a people of saintliness, heroism, and also of discipline. But what is orderliness? What is orderliness? Like, just to give you an example, somebody, an American, asked me once, said, you Filipinos, why can you not just go direct to the point? Why do you have to beat around the bush and then, I said, like what? He said, we invite you. And then you say, I will see. For us, why don't you just say yes or no? I said, well, if you're a Filipino, that's direct. That's direct. If you're a Filipino and the person says, titignan ko, you know that this person is not saying a full yes. It is direct to us. It is indirect to you. Now, we Filipinos, if I want to drive someone out ang haba na nitong usapan, I will not say, umuwi ka na, and say, parang umulan. Now, if you are sensitive, you know it is a direct communication. It's not indirect. It's direct. It is indirect for those who do not belong to the culture. Now, so what is order? What may appear as disorder for them might be very orderly to us. Who are they to tell us what is orderly and what is discipline? And I told the Vatican, one of the Vatican guards, remember, where was Pope John Paul II shot? Right there, in the piazza of St. Peter's. It did not happen outside. Then he said, we will pray.
Right, so my last question. In the Inquirer editorial for today, and for the past days, we discussed the events in Paris. The commando attack on the Charlie Hebdo newspaper. But in the Philippines, we do have our own Carlos Silva, who has been convicted by the Manila court. His conviction was affirmed by the Court of Appeals, and apparently upon complaint from the priest in charge at the Manila Cathedral.
just to set the record straight, it was not the priest, it was not the church that filed the case against Elran. That's why when they appealed to us for forgiveness, he said, and I was not the Archbishop of Manila, Cardinal Rosales immediately after that said, he is forgiven. But it was the people of the Philippines. It was a criminal case, no? So it is not this, it was not the church that filed. So as far as the church is concerned, tapos na. So when they tell us, when I said, forgive him, he has been forgiven even by Cardinal Rosales. I think they even met him. Now, sino dapat ang mag-aalunod sa court?
But in terms of the value of tolerance, in the debate in Paris, it wasn't seen as Christian versus Muslim, although the attackers were Muslims. It was seen as a debate of extremist interpretations of a religion and the value of tolerance. So is there a place for what is the extent of tolerance for strains of Catholic belief which do not conform to the official doctrine, for instance?
When it comes to, as I said, even with the survey of the youth, it is not new that there will be opposition to official teaching. It is not a new reality or instance that even within the followers of one religion, there will be differences of opinion. That has already existed. Even St. Paul and St. Peter in the Bible, they had their own differences. So it is not new. It is not new. However, I think even with the issue, as far as I have understood, the few times I was able to catch the news regarding Paris, and also with the Self-Plan case, is yes, is there, how do you express opposition which also maintains respect, not only for individuals, but also for institutions? Dissenting opinions will always come, but how do we express dissent in a way that preserves some level of human decency and courtesy? Now, let us localize it even further. Let's take the homes, husband and wife. There will always be differences of opinion, but can the differences of opinion be expressed, for example, in a violent way, and you have battered women, you have, and the husband can say, well, freedom of expression. Your wife is black and blue. Well, my freedom of expression is guaranteed by the Constitution. And I'm not joking. I have heard such type of reasoning. I said, why did you physically assault, sexually assault this girl? Well, I'm just being true to myself. I cannot hide my feelings. Pagpapakatotoo lang ito. And when do you classify something as rape? So I think this involves something, we always invoke some rights, but are rights absolute? How about the rights of the other people also for fair treatment?
The Pope will be meeting with the local church, members of the local church. Do you feel, or do you think that he will also be discussing about, since he was very open when he was in Rome about the sexual abuse, topics that ayaw among Europeans, but the Pope himself raised. Will he also be, will you feel this will also be discussed when he talks, there's an intimate talk with the church, local church leaders, in the Pope?
the opportunity for the Holy Father to meet with the leaders of the church, the bishops, representatives of the clergy and the religious, will happen in Manila Cathedral. But it is within the Mass, within the Eucharist. So it is not a meeting like this. So if the Holy Father will communicate a message, it will be in a homily, in the form of a homily. Now, I don't want to guess the content of the homily, but I will not be surprised. I'm not sure he will mention something like this, related to sexual misconduct of priests. I'm not sure he will mention that, but if he does, I won't be surprised, because it is something that we will need to be reminded of.
The Pope also recently talked of the ailments of the Curia. Will it also be within his to talk about issues, particularly he made an outline of the ailments?
Yeah. Let me tell you this. What the Holy Father did, with the list of 15 ailments of the Curia. The Curia is the offices that sort of implement the directives of the Holy Father. What he did was to put the ailments, categorize them in 15 items. But he is not the first Pope naman to have talked about some of the needed reforms in the Curia and the so-called deficiencies and ailments. The first Pope that visited the Philippines was Pope Paul VI, 1970. I was 13 years old at the time. And it was after a storm, after a typhoon. I just forgot the name. Anong typhoon ba yun? Yulig ba yun? Bukay na rin kayo. Another coincidence, no? The 1970, that's 45 years ago, the first visit of the Pope, after typhoon, ito na naman, after Yolanda, but Pope Paul VI started a reform of the Curia, simplified matters, para yung ambition, careerism, would be eliminated. Pope John Paul II did another reform. Pope Benedict was even quite harsh. In one homily, I think that was a Holy Week homily, he said that the influence of Satan has started entering the church. So what Pope Francis did was to put labels doon sa mga dati ng diagnosis of the other popes. No, but I think they can be a good list for examination of conscience anywhere. In fact, during the Christmas party of the priest of Manila, I told them, let us all read that, even if we are not Curia members, we are not working in the Vatican Curia. These are all temptations. And somebody suggested to me, why don't you send it also to cabinet members? Why don't you send them to, kasi totoo naman those are the same temptations that people close to power can experience. So it's a universal din naman.
Sa Congress.
Just Congress to just two questions to wrap this up. One is, people see the Pope as a revolutionary, although you say that it's just articulating what has been that reform of your religions. But how far do you think will the reforms of this revolutionary Pope will go there to the church?
Before going to the specific question, I would be very, very cautious in using labels. I was interviewed once, and the interviewer used the word revolutionary. So I asked her, will you please explain to me what you mean by revolutionary before I can... She was not able to describe to me what a revolutionary is. In Europe, somebody interviewed me and said, oh, the Pope is a liberal. I said, will you please explain what a liberal is? She could not explain what a liberal is. Nakakatakot siyang labeling eh. Kasi the moment something is done or said by this Pope which does not fit my label, then aatakihin na siya. Sabi siya, akala ko ba liberal ka? Bakit? Parang conservative ka. Ito ba yan? No? So, revolutionary, mga gano'n, no? Be careful. No? Now, but it has been used, so sige, gamitin na natin. No? Sabi nga ng isang teacher ko in college, you may be given the best professor and still end up being the worst student. So the Holy Father can only remind us and within his capacities also to implement. But a lot of the things that he will encourage us to do will really depend on us. Ganun naman lagi eh. Even you parents, you talk to your children about the ideals, but will they implement them or not? Hindi mo na hawak lahat yun eh. No? So people ask me, after the papal visit, what will change in the Philippines? Hindi na yata problema yun ang Pope. Nasa atin na yun. Kahit ilang beses pa tayo bisitahin, if we decide not to be fair, if we decide not to be respectful towards the poor, then not another people visit will affect that. We have to affect that. So how far the so-called revolution being started by the Holy Father affect the whole church and here in the Philippines? Well, that's for us to determine and to answer.
One question is, kayo po ba ang interpreter during the Mass of the Pope? And also, in line with that, what can you tell those Catholics who will not be able to attend the events of the papal visit, for example, due to work or kulang mamasahe or may mga sakit?
During the Masses, there will be no interpreters. Kasi he will use English naman eh. Siguro we presume naman that most of the Filipinos can understand English, no? So we don't need to interpret in Filipino or in Malay. Well, in some of the encounters where I was asked to be with the Pope, that I probably have to translate to him from Filipino or English to Italian or to Spanish, siguro. So pray that my tongue will be kabago ko ang sinasabi. Doon naman sa mga hindi makakapunta, makakadalo doon sa mga events. Ano po? I know how special it is, no? To be there, even if you cannot come close, just to be part of this crowd, no? That you pray together, you sing together, and especially this Pope, John Paul even did it, no? Yung pagka may mga surprises, akala mo ang layo na, tapos bigla ka lang dadaan doon, gano'n, no? So yung mga ganong opportunities, but thanks to social media, thanks to television, print media, internet, you can follow them. At kung don't feel bad, don't think. Sabi ko nga, people ask me, bakit hindi rin pupunta sa Bohol? Bakit hindi rin pupunta sa Zamboanga? Bakit hindi pupunta sa yung naapektuhan ng Sendo? Ang dami naman. We have to recognize the physical limitations also. No? If the Pope goes to all of those places affected by natural or human-caused disasters, then he would have to stay here for 6 months, siguro, or not, no? But if he needs to talk to every family na nawala ng pamilya at tagal mo, no? So, sabi ko na, let us get beyond it. Bakit Leyte lang? Bakit Manila lang? Let's think Filipino. That was how I felt it. After the Yolanda faith in Rome, we had a blessing of the mosaic of San Pedro Calungsod, but that was a week after Yolanda, so we had to include the Yolanda. When the Holy Father embraced me, I felt he was embracing every Filipino. No? He was not embracing Chito. So because sana ganoon na, when he visits, or when he talks with a young person, sana lahat ng young persons, sabihin, I am there. At ito na nangyayari ngayon sa France, no? Je suis Charlie. Ganun din. Ganun na lahat. Tama na, baka maiyak pa ako eh.
Just a few quick questions. When you do speak with the Pope, do you speak in Spanish or Italian?
Mostly Italian.
Will Cardinal Quevedo play the first Cardinal from the Philippines that he raised to the Cardinal, play an important role in the coming mission?
The roles of people like the bishops are also determined by the Vatican. O parang ina-assign kami kung saan mga who will join here for this event, who will, even in the masses, who will sit beside him, that I have not, but Cardinal Quevedo, because there will be in UST before the encounter with the youth, there will be a meeting, an encounter of the Holy Father with religious leaders of other religions. And Cardinal Quevedo submitted some names of leaders, both religious and political leaders about Samoro, that could possibly encounter the Pope.
Eminence, part of the official delegation is the Cardinal Secretary of State, the new Cardinal Secretary.
Yes.
Is there a special significance to that? I don't think the Secretary of State will just join us.
No, he is always quietly authorized. Yes.
Okay, Father, mukhang uulan na yata. It's 10:40. Instead of asking one more question, can you just ask him maybe for the next 2 minutes to give us a closing statement before we call on Father President?
I've said too many things already, but I think, especially to the young people who are here, this is an opportunity for us to understand better not only who the Pope is, but to understand better who we are as Filipinos and our role as a people and also as a church. Do you realize that in this most populous continent of the world, Asia, Christians comprise only 3% of the whole Asian population. 3%, parang a negligible 3%. And half of that 3% is found in the Philippines. Kalahati ng Christians in Asia nasa Pilipinas. And the other half parang sprinkled in China, India, all of that. And so it is not an exaggeration when the popes, from Pope John the 23rd up to this present Pope, will challenge us and remind us, you are the bearers of the gospel. Even if you cannot talk about it, in some parts of Asia you cannot talk about it, but live it, witness to it. And people will get in touch with the beauty of the good news, of the justice and the truth of Jesus Christ, even without our words. So learn to live it, and in your life, you will make a lot of difference to our people, especially the suffering ones here in Asia.